Don, how did Taylor Walker and Rory Sloane go out training this morning?
Yeah, they trained fully, so we'll see how they pull up in the morning, but both got through the session really well, which was good.
So no guarantees they'll play at this stage?
No guarantees, but as I said, we'll see how they pull up in the morning, but based on what they did today, they certainly moved themselves closer to playing.
So right now, would they, your match committee tonight, will they be picked in your team tonight then?
I'd expect so, yeah.
Is it a case of you don't take any risk at this point in the season, given how important they would be?
Yeah, look, it's as I said last week. I think after the game, we'll take a no risk policy with all of our players, not just those two, but all our players. But I'm also mindful of making sure guys continue to play, because that's important as we lead into finals. So, as we've done all year, if there's risk, we won't play them. But if they're available and they're ready to play, they'll play.
So what is it at training this morning? Just with the main group doing everything, or do they have their own specific thing?
No, they did the full session.
Looking at Sydney, they're obviously one of the form teams of the competition with yourself. Just how important is it that you win this weekend and make their path to the finals that much harder? Oh,
it's less about us doing something to their path to the finals. It's more about us continuing to play the way we want to. And another great opportunity Friday night, member appreciation round for us. So it's great and get our members along there on Friday night. Another big game, but an opportunity to play a high quality opposition in the lead into the finals. And we obviously were beaten by them in the final last year, and so a good chance to see the areas we think we've improved on against a high quality opponent.
Quite a few of the players have talked about that final last year. Is there a sense around the club that you owe them one?
Oh, it's probably more that they were disappointed. I mean, that was a disappointing way to end our season last year, and we get a chance on Friday night against the same opposition, although it'll be different 22 against the same club, to see how far we've come.
What does form mean going into a game like this?
What
does it mean for a club to be in good form as opposed to a club, in not as good form? Obviously, they're top of the form ladder at the moment.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, well, I think they've shown since sort of round 6, where they were 0-6, they've lost 2 games. They lost them both by a goal. Suggests that they're in good form. So we understand the opportunity and the challenge we've got on Friday night. They're strong in all the areas. They're a really strong contested team. They're hard to score against, and certainly they've got some weapons up front. So as I said, it's for us another step forward to where we're going to be in finals, and great chance to put our style to test against Sydney.
Is it a bigger game than a normal home and away series match, given your 2 more minor round matches in the finals, and what's at stake, especially for them, I guess? Yeah,
I don't know if it's any bigger than obviously the 4 points you get will be the same as the 4 points you would have got earlier in the year, so you're still playing for the same sort of prize. It's probably more where people are situated on ladders that dictates that. For me, it's a bit like some of the recent games we've had. It's more the opportunity to play that high quality opposition. On a Friday night. As I said, to see the progress we've made in the areas that we think we've made progress in, and I know the guys are really keen for the challenge, and they're up for Friday night.
Is it a good test before finals? Is it a good game to have under your belt, knowing finals is only a couple of weeks away?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we had a different game last week against Essendon. We obviously had the showdown the week before, so each game provides a different opportunity and a different style, and Sydney play a different style to say Essendon. So we'll have to adapt to that, and we'll have to make sure we bring our really strong contested stuff, which is important against Sydney. That's what they pride themselves on. They're about pressure, contested ball, and work rate, and those are the things which underpin all good teams. So important we focus on those areas come Friday.
Do you think you've learnt from that Swans loss last year? Certainly your record suggests that, and obviously a lot of the players speak about how much that hurt, and I know over summer you had to learn a lot from that contested footy, etc. Yep. Do you think you've come a long way since then?
I think where we're sitting reflects that we have. To be honest, I think some of our performances during the year have suggested, and our numbers would reflect that we've tightened up in our defensive stuff, where our contested ball stuff has been a really high standard for pretty much the whole season. So I've got no doubt we've improved. How far? I don't know. That's the unknown until you come up against quality opposition like Sydney, and it'll be the test for us Friday night.
Is there a chance, I suppose, to get a psychological edge on Sydney as well, given there's a possibility you might have to face them in the finals? Yeah,
well, that's always one thing that you're mindful of, and you're playing a team, any sport really, is the impression you leave with the opposition in terms of how you want to play, and it's at home Friday night, so as I said, looking forward to it.
Probably think Daniel Talia will get the job on Buddy Franklin, but saying that, Alex Keith, his job on Joe Danaher last week was superb. Is he a chance to maybe with his pace to get a go?
Yeah, look, it depends where they probably play with Buddy. I mean, sometimes he's a bit deeper to goal, other times he's further up the ground. So, yeah, we'll look at that and work out what the best matchup is for him, depending on where he's sort of playing on the ground.
Is that something that, I mean, a month ago to us, that's an unimaginable thing to think. Alex Keith playing on Buddy in 21. Is that something you saw coming?
No, I can't say I saw it coming, but it's great credit to Alex and the work he's done and the form he's displayed when he's been in the team. So, the week before he spent a bit of time on Charlie Dixon and then Joe Danaher, and so, but that's the life of a tall defender. If you want to play AFL footy as a tall defender, you've got to play against some good players, and it just happens to be coming early in his career for him.
First to lock those guys in, Don. First to lock the quartet of signings announced during the week. Alex obviously one of them. Yeah,
fantastic. Those young group of players that showed some real promise, with the exception of Tom, obviously, who hasn't played yet. The other three and Jake Kelly and Nida continue to impress and play well at AFL level, and Keithy just coming in. So it's great for the club. Great to lock them in, and they've got so much more improvement. They're showing really good signs, but we're excited about what they can do in the coming years.
Those four aside, there's obviously two that there's been a lot of conversation about all year. Without going into where that sits at the moment, is it just from your point of view, is it important to lock those things in like you have done with the four guys just gone before finals, so there isn't an element of distraction at all? Yeah, ideally, and that's why it was great to be able to get those four guys done, and we'll see where we get with the other guys.
What do you think about the scheduling, that this is the first time you're playing Sydney this season?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think next week we play West Coast in the last game of the end. That's the only time on the first time we played them. It's just one of the nuances of the draw. I haven't really got any comment on it. It's just how it panned out.
How all pre-season over summer, obviously, when you missed out on Bryce Gibbs, there was all this talk from yourself and Justin Reid and others with the words organic growth.
Yep.
From an outsider's point of view, clearly we've seen that with a lot of your players. Have you got what you wanted from that point of view with a lot of your young players who seemingly have improved?
Yeah, I think we've seen that improvement. That's what's been reflected is the progress all those guys have made from, so Matt and Brad Crouch, Hugh Greenwood's come in and been able to play a role. Curtly Hampton, before he got injured, really showed some real improvement in his game as well. And that's why we often say it'll be the same next year. We'd hope that our guys who have maybe not had many opportunities this year, in guys we brought in as first round or draft picks last year, we would expect them to get better again, because that's what our program should be aiming to do, is to make all our guys continue to improve. And if they do that, then their capability to play at the level is important. And we've seen that this year in a number of... Jake Kelly's a good example of a guy who's been really diligent, had a great pre-season, and has now been able to play regular and consistent AFL footy at the level and playing his role and playing it really well. That's what you're after, is that development.
Tick for your program?
I think it's for across the players, because they're the ones who ultimately do the work. But I think in terms of our development program and some of the work our development coaches and our coaches and line coaches do with them, is clarity around what role they play and clarity around the areas they need to get better at, and then the players ultimately have to do the work.
Just on Jake Kelly, sorry. How is his knee after last week?
No, he's all fine. He's all fine.
What do you make of other coaches publicly declaring interest in players contracted to this?
Yeah, in the case of, are you referring to Charlie Cameron? Yeah, very disappointing, to be honest. I think he's under contract, so he's going nowhere, and it's unusual that you would see comments about players under contract.
Is it just the changing nature of the landscape, though, Don, or you just put a line through it all together?
Well, I don't think it's appropriate that you talk about other players at other clubs that are under contract.
We've seen other coaches coming, like Goodman and Buckley have both said that about Lever, and it's disrespectful to do that. What changes? What makes someone say that? And when you heard it, what was your initial reaction?
Don't know. No real comment on it.
When you say he's going nowhere, though, there's another year to go in his contract.
Yep, another year.
You've decided as a club he's definitely staying?
Well, that's why we contracted him for next year.
But has Charlie come to the club and said he wants to trade for personal reasons?
No.
Okay. Have you spoken to Brisbane about those comments?
I haven't,
especially
no.
David Noble, obviously.
I haven't spoken to him, no.
Will you tell us about Kirtley? Is he going to play some footy this weekend, or is he getting close?
Kirtley's back in, so he'll be up playing with the Sanford level this week after nearly 10 weeks out. So exciting for him. Unfortunately, he had that syndesmosis and the surgery there, so he's been back training now for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's good to get him back on the track.
Kyle as well?
Yep.
It could be wet. Your wet weather form is terrific. Why?
It's a good question. I think what we've been able to do is adapt really well, to be honest. Our players have been really good at dealing with the conditions. Clearly, when it's wet, the contest becomes pivotal, and I think our work in those games in the wet has been very strong around the contest. which has allowed us to get some field position, and then the game sort of flowed from there. So, if it's wet again Friday night, clearly it won't hold any fears for us because we've performed well in those conditions. But essentially, we've still got to start it with winning those contests again. So we'll go in with some confidence if it's wet, but it'll still be about being able to bring it on the night.
With a win against Sydney, how important will it be if you can keep Sydney out of the top 4?
I don't really think about that, to be honest. For us, this is about games of footy, winning games of footy, preparing ourselves for, building and learning through what will happen on Friday night into the finals. What happens to Sydney is not front of mind for me.
You're top of the ladder and playing some pretty good football, but is there more that you could see? Is there more that you want out of your team coming into finals? Yeah,
we strive, as I've said all year, win or lose, you want to learn. And that's ultimately what we're about as a footy club, is we learn from every opportunity we get to perform or play. And sometimes you learn some really good things about what works for you and what creates playing well. And that's important for the players to reflect on as well, because if they reflect on that, it gives them a sense of what they know will work for them, especially when the stakes are higher or the pressure's higher. So for me, it's just a continuation of that. We get an opportunity, as I said earlier, against a really high quality opposition at home Friday night. That's why we play, for these exact challenges. And I know the players looking forward to it. It's going to be a big game, and from there we'll learn, hopefully positively. If we don't, there's some other things we need to fine-tune. Well, we'll have to work through that in the weeks ahead of the finals.
But do other clubs need to be worried that there's more to come from the Crows? You haven't quite peaked it,
I don't think other clubs will be worried. For us, it's more we focus on what we do, and we identify the areas we need to get better at, and that happens in end of seasons. It happens during seasons, after games. It's all the time. I mean, that's, I guess, what our program strives to do. Is we want a continuous improvement in not only our players but in our style and in how we function as a team.
Don, you said, sorry, just to keep about locking the boys in before the finals. You said ideally it would be a distraction. What sort of distraction is it, and is it to the team or to the individual?
No, it's probably more the individual, I would have thought. I think the team's now in a space where their full focus is in what's coming up in the next 6 weeks.
Form would suggest it's too big a distraction for those two guys.
Just keep playing.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.